everybody. I hope you're all well. My household is struggling to rid ourselves of the colds and flu. It appears we are passing it on from one to another and back again. Phew, I had some comments and DMs on yesterday's video, even one or two people calling me delusional, one or two saying, as usual, that I hate King Charles. Oh well, I'm used to it. It is truly no skin off my back. I, however, had one DM while the person requested to connect with me on Instagram. There wasn't much on their profile, but I took a chance and listened, and it was about the video I put up. She says, despite everything, Charles wants to reconcile with his son and has told him so, but there are some conditions. First and foremost, he must reconcile with his brother, whatever it takes. If the two of them do not make peace, then there's no point in even talking any further. The second requirement is to rejoin the royal family and start doing full-time duties again. He will have to show the British people he is serious about his royal duties, and then he will obviously have to make things right with his father. Well, I sort of found the post, but it says nothing about his wife and children, does it? The king and his courtiers said nothing about Meghan and the children, so what does that mean? Is the king prepared to accept Meghan back as well, or do they know more than we do about Harry and Meghan's relationship? I still don't think it would work. Harry and Meghan gave Britain and all of us 7 years of absolute BS. I do not think it will work even if he makes all these promises. It takes a long time to regain trust, if ever. In Harry's case, it may take him 7 times 3, 21 years, or never. I do not believe it is all Meghan's fault. In order to allow yourself to go along with certain vile behaviors, in order to go around hurting people who actually loved you before, to lie and gaslight people, you have to have it within yourself to do so. Somebody could or may be the instigator, not to cause these behaviors, but purely to bring what was always there to the surface. Harry was jealous of William long before Meghan came along. He was angry and resentful of his father long before Meghan came along. All Meghan did was to agree with all his complaints and bitterness and add her own complaints and faux fears to his delusions. In other words, she triggered what was already there to come to the surface and to be on public display. And how does William feel? I mean, William was not just betrayed, he was lied to, lied about. Even the most intimate details of his life and health were exposed in Harry's book. William may very well one day forgive, but I doubt he will ever forget what Harry did. Or rather, I know William will never forget. The video has also brought other arguments about Harry and Meghan back to the fore. Harry and Meghan's Montecito home, my dear friends, 765 Rockbridge Road, belonged to or was owned by Rockbridge LLC under Sir J. Grisham. The address for Rockbridge LLC was the same as for Wells Fargo in Montecito, namely 1482E Valley Road. Okay, so the sale details are: it was sold on June the 9th, 2020. Recorded sales price was $14,650,000. The seller was Rockbridge LLC and the buyer was Real Residential Estate Trust, of which the mailing address is 8383 Wilshire Boulevard, Suite 1000, Beverly Hills, which is indeed the address of Megan's business and financial manager, Andrew K. Meyer of Freemark Financial. On the deed of trust for the property from the Santa Barbara County Clerk, there is also a mortgage amount of $9,522,500. It is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 2.49%, and the monthly payment is roughly $37,575. There's no way for us to find out who the real humans are behind Real Residential Estate Trust, because Real Residential Estate Trust is again registered to another LLC. So very difficult. And I made a video about this, if I remember correctly, in December 2021. I will look for it and post a link to it at some point. I do believe, however, at this point, that Meghan and Harry likely co-own the property or then co-own the trust. Also, the story which still lingers that they do not live there is absolute nonsense. They do, and they are seen there from time to time. I hear from the wife of a fairly prominent person in Montecito and Santa Barbara, and they live near Harry and Meghan. And like I said, I hear from her, say, once a year or maybe twice, if something extraordinary happens. She'll email me and tell me they are still there, or she saw Dorian Town, or she saw Meghan driving out the gate. And that is how I know they are still there. What I can tell you is that the only thing they find a little strange is that Meghan is seen relatively often. But although Harry was spotted fairly often in the first, say, 2 years, riding his bike along with his bodyguards or walking the dog. The last time we corresponded, this lady and I, which was towards the end of last year, I think, she said she has not seen Harry in ages. So I don't know what that means, but last time I heard, Meghan was still definitely living there. Okay, the rental scenario. Yes, there is an advertisement up for part of the property to be rented out for filming and recording, but they are definitely not NOT renting it out. Myself and one or two other YouTubers actually tested it and found the number. Now, a knowledgeable friend of mine reckons they are leaving the advertisement up because Archwell Foundation, Archwell Productions, etc., are likely renting the space, the office space that they are using from Real Residential Estate Trust. And then they get a reduction on either their personal tax or on Archwell Foundation or Archwell Productions tax. And money saved, goes back into Harry and Meghan's pockets. A lot of people running a business from home actually do that. Oi, there are so many things said that Charles will never again give Harry anything. My dears, that is not true. Charles still paid Harry his annual allowance at the end of 2020 for the year 2019 to 2020. And I think the year ends annually in September, if I remember correctly. So for the year, or effectively, Harry only worked for, and I'm saying worked in inverted commas, for 4 months, okay, of 2019, of which he was on holiday in Canada, Vancouver Island, for 2 months. However, in 2020, King Charles paid him in full. I think it was 2.4 million for the year, if I remember correctly. I also believe that he gave Harry a severance amount, which was supposed to help them settle and keep them going until they found work or projects to earn money with. I heard an amount of 7 million being bandied around as far as the settlement. Some said 9 million, but I think the 9 was likely the 2 million allowance and the severance of 7. So Harry's narrative that the royal family and Charles just dropped them and left them was totally untrue. And as you may know by now, it had also come out that Charles also paid for Harry's security for the first year after they left the royal family. So regardless of what we thought and heard, Charles was actually far more than generous, and Harry's story to Oprah that they survived on his inheritance from Diana was 100% false. I also have reason to believe that in the years that followed, 2021 and 2022, Charles also gave or donated some money to them. Remember, Charles told the Queen that he felt like their bank or their ATM, meaning that he must have given more money since 2020. I'm thus willing to bet that if the chips are down for Harry again, regardless of what has gone before, Charles will still help his son out again. So Charles may not want to speak to Harry unless the timing is 100% correct. Charles may not trust Harry and be afraid that whatever he says will be shared with Meghan or the media, which in my opinion is actually one and the same thing. But never mind. The fact is that I 100% believe that Charles will open his purse again for Harry. I also believe that Charles is concerned about Harry because William is not Charles, and William will not share the inheritance with Harry. William will not take pity on Harry, and William will also be 100% within his right not to do so. So unless Charles specifically leaves something to Harry, Harry will be down and out of the will and out of luck. So I do believe that Charles is considering Harry's future. Look, we must understand that royalty is not us. If we have, say for instance, a drunk, down and out uncle, we will likely distance ourselves from him. But In the case of the royals, it is very different. It's all about image. Imagine what people will say if Charles, the billionaire, has an aunt or an uncle or a cousin, a sister-in-law, or then even a son lying in the gutter somewhere. Imagine how it would look and what people will say. Good golly, he's a billionaire, yet his son is lying in the gutter, doesn't have food to eat or clothes to wear or place to stay. Can't the billionaire do something? No, my dears, it will never, never, never be allowed. They would rather go pick the family member up and hide him away at some private estate and take care of him. So no, the king and courtiers can tell the public what they want. The king and courtiers can tell the public what they want to keep them away and, satisfy them and keep them quiet. But history tells us different. Knowing Charles as much as I do through books and magazines and gossip over the last, say, 50 years, I'm confident that I'm right in saying that Charles will never, ever, ever, ever cut Harry off completely, turn his back on him completely. Never, as in not ever. Openly, publicly, maybe, but completely behind the scenes, no way. You will never allow Harry to land in the gutter. So there you go. I again touched on controversies which reared his head as a result of yesterday's video. Mostly things we have spoken about before, some which had been proven to be true, and some which may still be proven to be right or wrong in the future. I think what we have here, the complaints and the fights, is a sort of fangirl, fanboy situation. But as adults, we have to realize that no one, not even a king or a queen, is perfect. We all humans, have our strengths and our weaknesses. We all make mistakes, and we all have our successes. You can care for someone and still accept that they have made mistakes or they made the wrong decisions. And then, because we care for them, we have empathy for the mistakes they made or the wrong decisions they took. So you don't need to get upset if someone points out something about your favorite person or your favorite celebrity. Anyway, guys, that's it from me for today. Please take care, stay safe, bye.